or overlapping of the groups, but there's no requirement.
And I think the reason why you find that overlap is because atheism doesn't tell you anything about how we should deal with one another. So atheists looking for guidance as to how to comport themselves will latch on things like secular humanism because that is their viewpoint on that subject. But atheism doesn't say anything. All it does is look for God.
Right. But that makes some sense. I mean, I know I was kind of being a little generalized, but for the most part, I do have to, and I guess that kind of does answer.
Okay.
I guess one more thing before I go is, are there any issues that maybe a secular humanist might speak out against that aren't religiously passed one way or another as a rule?
I don't understand your question.
Well, I mean, because most of the issues y'all speak up are religiously based, because, I mean, it does condemn, the anti-gay, yada yada, but there are few that religion has nothing to do one way or another. Do you ever, speak out and call bullshit flags that, I don't know if I can tell.
Sure. I will call bullshit anywhere where it's deserved. It doesn't matter to me whether or not a religion or some religion or all religions have a position on it. I'm not just, oh, look, here's a position that some religious group has or that we consider religious, so let's rail against it. I'm more about, as an atheist, skeptic person, and a secular humanist, rationalist, I'm a fan of just, let's solve these issues, let's address these issues, no matter what. And in that vein, I can work right alongside religious people who agree. There are plenty of religious people, for example, who support church-state separation, even though there are other religious people who don't. It doesn't matter to me if every church and every organized religion suddenly came down in favor of church-state separation. Whatever non-religious group that was left that was against it was simply wrong, and they deserve to be challenged.
Okay. Good. Well, I guess you have the call, so I'll let you go. I appreciate your time.
Sure. Thanks for calling.
That's all.
Tommy in L.A., how are you? Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, I have two comments I want to make. First of all, I disagree with you about gender roles. Second of all, when you think about the belief in God and the behavior of the immune system, just like sex with gay men is also a behavior of the immune system. Can you do the question part again real quick?
Yeah, and controlling the volume is kind of low.
Yeah.
We're having trouble hearing the calling.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, turn it in.
Yeah, my point is, I believe that gender roles should be respected and valued because most likely they evolved to benefit our offspring, and that the behavior immune system, the belief in God could actually be a behavior immune system, just like the disgust of gay men is a behavior immune system. This is Sean, by the way.
Hey, this is Checkin' Charlie?
Yeah,
bye. Thanks, though. Thanks for calling in. It's Tommy, you batshit crazy liar. I don't care what your views on gender roles are, but with regard to God as a possibly evolutionary belief or a belief that has some value, his actual claim was along the lines of having a particular God belief might protect you from more harmful beliefs.
And in response to the idea that anything that evolved should therefore be something that we just automatically accept and don't question, evolution happens over very long periods of time, and the long period of time over which those gender roles you're talking about evolved, and even assuming that there's any validity to the idea that gender roles are an evolved trait, which I think is a lot less clear than that. But even if that was the case, we don't live the way that people lived over the last several million years, and the idea that we should just, close our eyes and accept what whenever evolution's foisted on us without thinking about it, without being willing to move on from that if we have a better, fairer, more just way of doing things is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's typically referred to as the naturalistic fallacy. Because something is natural, it is somehow right. And what you're doing in that case is you are taking the natural world, the process of evolution, which is mindless without intent, that is just casting about in whatever the reality happens to be, and you are infusing it with some intent and purpose and a goal, and then declaring that goal is good, as if my 5 fingers, that's the way nature intended me to be. So there's something wrong if a mutant is born with 6 fingers, even if it turns out to be more beneficial. I mean, they put the animal. Right.
Not to mention the fact that if it weren't for those kinds of variations, we wouldn't have evolution in the first place.
It's just absurd.
Michael from North Bergen, New Jersey.
Oh my God, I'm a huge fan of you guys. What's up?
How you doing?
Good, man. I've been watching your show almost every week.
Cool.
Yeah, so basically I just wanted to call in and ask you guys, where do you guys stand on free will?
Are we going to get into a long thing about this? I think there is a thing that is fair to call free will, and I am what they call a compatibilist. That is to say, I accept that the universe is basically deterministic, but I think within the bounds of determinism, there are things you can point at and reasonably refer to them as free will.
I mean, the way I define free will is like choice over opinion and thought. And actions, voluntary actions are derived from thought and opinion. So, I mean, do you really think that you have control of your own thoughts and opinions?
I think in order to say you don't have control over your thoughts and opinions, you have to ignore meaningful distinctions between, like, yourself and the rest of the universe.
And my view is a little bit different. Once you get to your particular definition of free will, I don't think that necessarily works, and I think the scientific information is starting to show that it doesn't. That decisions are essentially made before we're consciously aware of them, and therefore, while it's still a part of us, it's not a part of any process that we would identify with the kind of choice you're talking about. Although I do agree with Jeff, I'm also a compatibilist with respect to specific definitions, in that the types of things that we would count to qualify as free will exist. They may still be at their core illusions, but I don't think that matters much for any conversation that we really care about free will, which is holding people responsible for actions, and whether or not someone else is intentionally imposing and preventing somebody else from doing what it is that they quote-unquote will.
And as a compatibilist, I don't have the slightest difficulty with the discovery that we have choices that are made in our brains before the conscious part of our awareness becomes aware of them. Because those are just different parts of my brain, and it's still my responsibility. Yes. So to me, that is a distinction without a difference. Further, I think that it is important not to let go of the term free will because it is attached to notions of personal responsibility. And I think that it's a huge mistake. It's throwing the baby out with the bathwater if we say, well, free will doesn't turn out to be this magical nonsense that religionists tried to tell us it was. Therefore, it doesn't exist at all. Because the term still refers to the question, we're back to the question of, is a person responsible? Is it fair to hold a person responsible for the things that they did?
And you're actually going in the direction of responsibility. I was just going in the direction of, do we really have choice over?
I understand, and that's why basically what you described was some version of libertarian free will. And I don't think that sort of free will exists. So your particular definition, no, I don't think so. But I completely agree with what Jeff just said, because we're talking about something that's... Anyway, there's an episode of Nonprofits, if you dig through the archives, where we did a a 3-hour show where
Wow.
we all sat around.